In today's MATLAB Basics, I'm going to do a code review of some code I modified from the MATLAB news group that you can access from MATLAB Central. This is a place where people go to ask questions of other MATLAB users. The question that I found interesting was one where a MATLAB user wants to make a 10 by 10 matrix where the distribution of values is specified by an input vector. So if we were to put an input vector of 50 and 50, since that sums to 100, you would be able to make a matrix with 50 zeros and 50 ones. You could also change it so it was like 50, 25, 25, so you would have 50 zeros, 25 ones, and 25 twos. I took the code that was in the news group for an answer and modified it to become a function. The first thing we do is write some help so that people know what this function does. And then I went through and made sure that the input vector does sum to 100. If it doesn't, we're just going to throw an error. This allows us to know that the input is going to be valid for this function. Now what I'm going to do is generate a vector of the matrices, a vector of the elements that will be in the final matrix. We start out with it empty, and then we're going to loop through the number of elements in the input vector, and we're just going to concatenate those onto the existing set of elements. And we're going to use repmat, or replicate matrix, to replicate that number a set number of times. Now I can see here that I've made a mistake because I don't want to replicate the number I want to replicate the number I minus 1 so that we start out with replicating the value of 0. While we're at this, I can see I forgot to indent that, and it looks better this way. Finally, once I've gotten that elements matrix made, then I can go through and mix it up using randperm, and then finally reshape to the final 10 by 10. Let's save this and run it through some sample iterations. And you can see this is randomizing very nicely. But I'm not sure exactly if everything is got the correct percentages, so I'm going to go back to my code and comment out the part about mixing the elements up. Let's save that and run it again. And you can see now they're no longer randomly permutated, and you can see that we're getting the distribution of numbers right. So let's uncomment that again and try some other examples where maybe we're going to make sure this doesn't add up to 100. We get our error. Maybe we try setting it to 100, and we get a uniform matrix of zeros. So this is how talking through your code, often with a colleague, but I think your cat would work just as well sometimes, because you just need to be able to verbalize what your code is doing. As you do that, you're going to force yourself to understand each line of code and find any errors that you've left in them. Thank you.